the first thing we're going to do is look at our signs and decide if our answer is going to be positive or negative, and then we're just going to put that out to the side. So I have to remember my rules for dividing integers. I have two negatives. 2 is an even number, which means my answer is going to be positive. So I'm going to go ahead and record that so I don't have to worry about it later. And then I'm going to set up my division problem. This is always going to be your dividend. The first number always goes inside your division sign symbol. And this is going to be my divisor. My second number always goes outside. Now, the problem is with a situation like this is decimals inside in your dividend are fine, but decimals in your divisor are not fine. So we first have to get rid of this decimal on the outside of my divisor. What we're going to do is move that decimal one place to get it to become a whole number. One place. So technically what I just did is I multiplied my divisor by 10. Multiplying by 10 always moves my decimal to the right. Multiplying by 100 would move my decimal 2 places, and 1,000 3 places, and so on. So anything I do to my divisor, I have to also do to my dividend. So I'm going to multiply this one also by 10, which is going to move my decimal one place here. I'm going to take a second and rewrite my problem to a new division problem. So this now becomes 36 into 84, and my decimal is here. After I get my decimal so that my divisor is a whole number, now I'm ready to start my division. My decimal always should come straight up top. That's going to be my first step. I want to make sure that I do that because I can add zeros after a decimal and it will stay 84. But if I don't put the decimal, then it becomes 840 or 8,400, and I don't want to change the value of my dividend. And so then we start our division process, and we know 36 won't go into 8, but it will go into 84. Make sure that you put your answer over the 4 and not over the 8. That's a very common mistake, and then it looks like 36 is going into 8, and it won't. So 36 will go into 84. I'm thinking this is close to 40. If I just estimated in my head, 40 and 40 would be 80. So I'm guessing probably 36 times 2, but I'm going to test it out over here and see. So I end up with 72, and that's pretty close. We'll double check and multiply by 3 just to make sure it's not closer. And 108 is too big. So we're going to go with the 2. And 2 times 36 is 72. I'm going to subtract. Now, I'm going to have to keep dividing until I have no more remainder. So I'm going to add another 0 so that I can bring another number down and continue dividing. Now remember, since I put that decimal there, this value is still 84. So even though I added a 0 and said there's nothing in the tens place, it does not change the value of my 84. Okay, so we already know that 36 times 3 is 108, and that's pretty close. We could double check and just make sure that we can't get 4. And yeah, 144 is too big, so we'll go with the 3. So 3 times 36 is 108. And I do have to borrow because I can't subtract 8 away from 0. So this becomes 1, and this becomes 10. And I get 12 again. Well, I'll just add me another 0. And well, we knew that 36 went into 123 times. And we have to borrow again. We're going to get 12 again. And you can kind of see that I'm really stuck in this pattern. There's no way to get out of that. It's just going to keep being 3s Once you see something happen 3 times in a row, you can be pretty sure it's going to keep repeating. So this is going to be a repeating decimal answer, and it's the 3 that repeats. So the way that we write that is with bar notation. That's called bar notation, when you put a line on top of the number that repeats. And let's see, there we go. Make sure that you only put it over the number that repeats. If there's double digits, then you'll put a line over both. If it's single digits, then you'll just put one of them. You don't need to list it more than once. Sometimes you'll see it displayed like that in a book, and that's the same thing as 3 is just going to keep repeating. Notice that my multiplication trials are down the side and they're not over in the middle, so your work is really nice and neat and organized. But your original problem, get your decimals in the right place, and rewrite your new problem. Don't try to divide with your decimals looking like this, because you'll eventually end up making a mistake and putting the decimal in the wrong place. It gets real confusing when you have 2 decimals in the same problem. So take a second just to rewrite your problem real neatly, and you should be in good shape.